Begin tonight with our school board candidates. So as I announce their names, if they would please stand and head to their spots. In our North District, we have Joe Richardson. And also for North District, Sarah Beth Tracy. Our East District will be Joe Kennedy. And Central District, Wayne Hatchie. And finally, Stacy Rush. We will try to, with time allowing, get through as many questions as we can. As you can tell, folks, there's water. I'm going to pat microphones. Once it's your turn, just hit the on button. Then you can turn that off when you're finished, so we can kind of pass mics. I'll give you one as well for this end of the table. As soon as we're done with the with the school board, we will then go to board of supervisors after having a small intermission. And now, Mr. Chad Moody.
All right, thank you, everyone. If everyone just please go ahead and have a seat. Again, my name is Chad Mooney, and it's my honor and privilege to be here with you all tonight and to ask some of the questions that have been given to me by audience members. So all these questions were created this evening, and I'm going to be presenting those to you all. Before I ask those questions, I would like to start here with Mr. Richardson, and we're just going to go down the line. And the first part of the segment is just giving a 1-minute introduction. Mr. Richardson, please.
Hey, good evening. My name is Joe Richardson, and I'm running for school board for the North District, and I'm very honored to be here this evening. As a husband, as a father, as a member of this community, as a grandfather, and as a willing servant, someone who believes that public schools can transform lives. And
Mr. Richardson,
a little closer?
these mics are a little sensitive, so you gotta be very close.
Okay, I never was a singer, so. I ask you to think back to a teacher who changed your life. And that's the same experience I want for every child in Nelson County. We're looking, when I considered this, the first thing I thought of, the most important thing, and it remains, is the students. And while the students are our main focus, we certainly want to support our teachers and our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Next up, Ms. Tracy. You have 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Sarah Beth Tracy, and I'm running for school board because I believe I can collaborate with other school board members, listen to parents and teachers, and serve our district to help keep our schools strong and supported. I think public education is critical in supporting our families and our community's current and future well-being.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Kennedy.
Hi, everybody. I'm grateful to be here this evening. I am a parent of 7 beautiful kids, and for 6 years, my wife and I homeschooled. Last year, we decided to enroll our kids. I believe it was the right decision for our family and our kids to thrive. I'm a firm believer in the ability of Nelson County schools to do great things. And I want to see the schools grow, I want to see enrollment grow, and I want to be able to help engage with families and engage with the administration to bridge the gaps where many young families now are choosing to not enroll. I want to get to the root of that. I want to help create understanding and trust, and I want to see my children and their peers really do incredible things moving forward. And so I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be a part of this conversation.
Dr. Hatchie, you got 1 minute.
Well, I'm running. We've been our residents now in the others for about 13 years. My background includes 34 years as a pediatrician, 28 years in the military, and a little stint as an vaccinologist. School board members don't teach, they're administrators. And with changes that are coming with federal funding that will impact the school systems and our children, it's going to be important to have administrators within the school board. My military experience in command positions, managing budgets well over $140 million a year, all give me the skills to hopefully join the school board and meet these challenges.
Thank you. And lastly, but not least, Ms. Rush.
Hi, thank you to the Chamber and Melanie for having us here tonight, and to all of you for interrupting your evening to love Nelson County. Education is my passion. My church is my first passion. My husband of 49 years and our grandchildren and their parents are my second passion. Education is my first. I have an undergraduate degree and a master's degree in education, a PhD in curriculum and instruction, and I've just retired from a 45-plus year career in education, from the classroom to district level, state level, federal level, the university level, helping education departments revamp their teacher prep programs. My goal is to bring this education and these experiences to Nelson County. We have 4 grandsons in the system. It's a great system, and I'm hoping that we can make it even greater with some innovations and good conversations that we'll have tonight and on the school board moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, remember, the next segment, we're going to have 2 minutes to answer each of the questions, and we're going to start out here with Mr. Richardson. And the first question is, this is going to be for all of our candidates this evening, what do you believe are Nelson County Public Schools' greatest strengths, and how can those strengths be leveraged?
Thank you for the question. Well, certainly, I believe the most important thing is the community itself and the values that we hold. And I believe this can be leveraged by doing the most we can for the students, helping them become good citizens, that they will return that type of benevolence to us and to this community and help us continue to grow.
All right, thank you. And I'll go ahead and repeat the question just so that it's fresh in your mind. What do you believe are Nelson County Public Schools' greatest strengths, and how can those strengths be leveraged?
Yeah, I think our greatest strengths are all of the people who are involved in our schools, and that's our teachers, our administrators, our caring parents, volunteers, school board members who are out there taking their time to take care of our schools and our children. And I think the best way to leverage that is just to continue encouraging that involvement, listening to people when they show up and when they're there, and giving them things to do.
All right, Mr. Kennedy, what are Nelson County Schools' greatest strengths, and how can those strengths be leveraged?
I think right now, one of the, like my focus as, something I think could really be important in terms of budget pressures and, the future of the schools, is that we have room to grow within the current infrastructure. That since enrollment over the past few years has been down, that there's seats that we can fill, and there's opportunity to maximize the infrastructure that we already have in place. And so I think that's a good position to be in compared to other districts that if they take on 100 more students, perhaps they need to consider building another school. We have room to accommodate, and I'm excited to help the schools fill those seats.
All right, same question to you, Dr. Hatchie. What are Nelson County Schools' greatest strengths, and how can those strengths be leveraged?
I think the greatest strengths, first are the students. After that, our superintendent, her staff, and the teachers. Over the past few years, they've taken Nelson County which was ranking below the 50th percentile, up into the 80th percentile. So I think clearly supporting their initiatives, giving them the tools that they need to continue to excel is the path forward.
All right, same question, Mrs. Rush. Nelson County Public Schools, greatest strengths, how can those strengths be leveraged?
I think few greatest strengths. One would be the safe, welcoming environment that the schools in Nelson County provide their students and their teachers. A part of that strength is then the willingness of our teachers to go above and beyond. They're facing a lot of challenges, particularly unique challenges to rural school districts. Funding is one of them, national teacher shortage is one of them, but they continue to be creative and innovative and willing to grow their knowledge so that they can meet the needs of a very diverse school population. Another huge strength of Nelson County Schools is their scheduling flexibility. What happens at the middle school, for example, in their AB days, in their ability to meet the needs of a variety of students in multiple academic levels, and to still offer that sense of belonging and safety and welcoming to all of those students is crucial. It can be better. I think we all understand that safe schools right now is probably a top priority, as are welcoming schools. But what we have also learned is that students feeling that they belong to a school is the #1 indicator of school success for students. The scheduling that the middle school has put together fosters that. They have so many opportunities to be a part of a small group in a great big school that it's definitely an improvement they have made and that we can capitalize on. And another strength is our graduation rate. We do a great job of getting our kids graduated. We need to make sure that they're ready to do what comes next.
All right, thank you for those well thought out answers. The next question, and I'm going to start with Ms. Tracy, is do you have experience or ideas about improving or advancing career and technical education at Nelson County High School?
Yeah, I've worked in public schools in intervention, tutoring capacities with students who are behind grade level, and I think in terms of our, getting students ready for technical and career success, making sure that all the subjects and things that they need are addressed for that is crucial. I think that teachers are going to be the ones who really know where those gaps are in their classrooms, and I think in terms of ideas, I think listening to folks' input on that is going to be crucial.
All right, we're going to be, not to leave Mr. Richards out, but we're going to be moving this way because I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to answer a question first. So moving next to you, to Mr. Kennedy, same question. Do you have experience or ideas about improving or advancing career and technical education at Nelson County High School?
So on the experience side, I, as a newly married man living in the DC area, got a job working for a contractor, and I had the privilege of working as a mold remediator for a decade. I got to go through crawl spaces and attics and a lot of demolition and a lot of mess and a lot of helping people pick up the pieces in their lives. I got certified to do indoor air quality testing and have a lot of experience troubleshooting air quality issues with HVAC systems, and that's all things that I learned by the seat of my pants as an adult. Within my high school, I didn't have a lot of those practical things. My mom was a secretary and my dad was a truck driver. And so I learned a lot of things as an adult the hard way. And I think that there's an incredible opportunity just as an idea to make sure that all of our students graduating have the basic homeowner skills to know what their mechanical systems are, to know the basics of home building and how to spot, some things that are terrible, and just the basic proficiency with battery tools and hand tools, and that be something that all students learn, not just the ones that go into construction. So I'm no expert on how to implement this, now, but I definitely want to have the conversation about how we can have more educated homeowners.
Dr. Hatchie, same question for you. Do you have experience or ideas about improving or advancing career and technical education at Nelson County High School?
Well, as far as experience, clearly my career path has been a little different. But as far as ideas, I think we have to look at what the job market is right now, and what it's going to look like in the future for students leaving the school system, and tailor the education experience to put them in a good position to be competitive in the world that they're going to be emerging into.
Ms. Rush, same question. Do you have experience or ideas about how to improve or advance career and technical education at the high school?
Two pieces to that question. The experience that I have is involved by participating in the development of a program called an early warning system management system, which is a program that takes a look at what are our warning indicators that students are not going to graduate, and what do we do about it. So I've been in the room when it happened to figure out what those indicators are, and to make some decisions and develop tools around what to do about it, and how to monitor our kids from the 9th grade through the 12th grade with whatever resources and supports they need, so that they, one, have determined partially whether or not they want to move into the workforce or into secondary and post-secondary education, and how do we support them in that? Do we offer them more individualized attention? Do we offer them more sort of small group attention? They flow in and out of a tiered system that allows them to be successful and have a sense of, when I graduate, I'm ready to do this. I think we need to be really careful about AI. It's here, it's not going anywhere, it's a good thing. I heard an example of a CEO saying that in the next 10 years, he's going to lose X number of sort of mid-management people. But also in the next 10 years, he's going to need 29,000 additional electricians. So I think Nelson County needs to be aware of where our kids' future is headed, and make sure that they understand these are choices that they have to make now. They need to begin learning about them in elementary school, continue to grow these skills so that we can fill those positions and the positions that were mentioned down the road here, because there is way more to what our kids are going to be stepping into than post-secondary education, and we need to be sure they're prepared to do that.
Thank you. And swinging back around to Mr. Richardson, same question for you. Do you have experience or ideas about improving or advancing career and technical education at the high school?
Thank you for the question. I do have experience, having been a business owner in Nelson County and employing, at that time, 6 students on a 30-person staff. One of them today, 17 years later, but is actually the general manager of the business. So I have a lot of belief in that. And I think essentially, to answer the second part of the question on how to improve it would be to go to the business leaders in the county and develop mentorship programs that would allow the students to become journeymen and eventually, be certified in the fields that they're looking for. And certainly, I know from my grandson, who is currently taking electricity at Nelson County High School, that's right up his alley. He would have an opportunity to earn money and also to grow his career path. And I think that's where these associations and these special conditions can best be sought, is going to those in the community who have an opportunity to help us build that.
All right, thank you. The next question, we're going to start with you, Mr. Kennedy, is how will you work to ensure all students, including those from different backgrounds, have equal access to high-quality instruction, resources, and books drawing on diverse backgrounds?
So I think part of that is, understanding where the diversity in our school system is, where the needs are. Personally, I went for 5th and 6th grade, I was at a school that more than a quarter of the student population was English as a second language. And so there's an incredible, responsibility to be accommodating to kids that either have special education needs or English language needs. I think that establishing those proficiencies is really important. And I also think that there's, probably room for Spanish education at some point too, but in terms of, I think something that could be done as far as an idea for like a diverse background is understanding dietary requirements of some students, since the schools are like offering school lunches to all students. I think that there is room for it now, but I definitely think there's room for growth in understanding of different cultural and religious food backgrounds, so that those students can operate seamlessly, and that not being a barrier to enrollment for families.
All right, same question, Dr. Hatchie. How will you look to ensure all students, including those from different backgrounds, have equal access to high-quality instruction, resources, and books drawing on those backgrounds?
Well, I've started attending the school board meetings, so I've gotten at least a snapshot of how the Nelson County Schools is addressing this issue, and they do seem to be doing it exceedingly well. But doing it exceedingly well also requires resources. And working in conjunction with the school administrators and with our county supervisors is going to be vitally important to make sure that we have the adequate resources to fund these initiatives and to continue with the current practice that is evident in the Nelson County schools.
All right, Ms. Rush, how will you work to ensure all students, including those from different backgrounds, have equal access to high-quality instruction, resources, and books from those backgrounds?
Well, the good news is that's the law. The difficult thing is how do we prepare our staff and our administrators to implement that law? The even better news is we have that. What the federal government has done when it puts out new laws pertaining to education is to fund programs or projects or centers to figure out how to get it done. One of the things that has been figured out and has been researched and is proven to work is a tiered system of support, both in education and in academics and behavior, meaning all kids get solid, differentiated instruction, tier 1 instruction on the general curriculum, every student in the school. Those students are all benchmarked within the first month of school to say, okay, where are you? What are the chances that this tier 1 instruction may or may not work for you? As the tier 1 continues and these kids that have been benchmarked and flagged, they can be then moved into a tier 2 situation where their needs will be met. This isn't special education. They're getting their special education needs met in special education. They're getting their English language needs met in English language classes. But tier 2 is small group interventions to address the differentiated needs that you just mentioned. If that doesn't work, then the committee reconvenes and determines that perhaps this 5% of our kids need some one-on-one instruction, that their learning differences are big enough. They may or may not be in special ed, but they do require some one-on-one instruction, some tier 3 instruction to get them where they need to be. No one stays in tier 2 or tier 3 forever. They can go back to, they're always in the general ed curriculum, which is mandated for all students, and they can sort of move in and out of that pyramid.
Mr. Richardson, how will you work to ensure all students, including those from different backgrounds, have equal access to high-quality instruction, resources, and books drawing on those backgrounds?
Of course, the first thing is to identify the need and to make sure that the assets are there in order to support it, to make it happen, that they get what they need. But primarily, my first thought is to go, I really believe in the importance of elementary school. And I think a lot of these needs can be met at the very, very beginning by doubling down, by tripling down if necessary, on the effort that we put into the elementary schools. Currently, we see an initial kind of second and third year drop sometimes in our SOL scores, but those are the kids that also become the heroes at the 5th grade level and the 6th grade level. So by catching it early, being prepared for it, and making sure all the assets are there in order to support it, I believe is the most direct route to that. Obviously, there's going to be some children that are slightly older, and we're going to have to take special care to make sure that they get what they need as well.
All right, thank you. Ms. Tracy, this is this question in this round. How will you work to ensure all students, including those from different backgrounds, have equal access to high-quality instruction, resources, and books drawing on those backgrounds?
Yeah, I think the first step to that, which I think Nelson County Schools really excels at, is having a welcoming environment, having a safe environment. But then what really needs to be implemented is providing the resources for teachers to address the unique diversities of their classroom as those needs change and diversify, so that those materials can be updated and address our unique students in every situation.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the next question. Dr. Hatchie, this one's coming your way. If the state or the federal government reduces funding due to rising property values such that Nelson County has become wealthier, what will you do to protect or increase the school funding, and how will you handle any reductions in funding?
Well, funding is always going to be based on what our needs are, and that is a cooperative relationship between the superintendent and their staff and the school board to determine what funding the schools actually are required to meet its mission. From there, then, we have to go to the Board of Supervisors to have that budget approved. So a great deal as far as what we can or cannot do as far as funding the schools really is dependent on our relationship with the Board of Supervisors. Schools are not self-funded. We are part of the county and are dependent on approval from the Board of Supervisors.
All right, thank you. Ms. Rush, same question. If the state or federal government reduces funding due to rising property values such that Nelson County has become a wealthier community, what will you do to protect or increase the school's funding, and how will you handle any reductions in funding?
I think what we need to understand is that we'll never have enough money to run schools the way we know they should be run. And currently there's a national teacher shortage, so we'll never have enough teachers in the near future to man the schools that are underfunded. So we're going to need to not toss our hands up and say, what will we do? We need to start planning, and we need to start preparing, and we need to start implementing programs to address the fact that we're going to have to do more with less. For example, motivate, put to work our volunteer pool. We need more adults in the school. We can't get paid teachers because they don't exist, but we can get, in Stony Creek alone, in Ellie's Ford, there must be 100 adults there that are ready to spend some time in the schools doing what a teacher needs them to do on a regular schedule, on a regular basis with a regular teacher and the classroom. We need to have a partnership with the community. We need to be able to reach out to our business folks, to our medical folks, to any other business or faith-based partners that may be willing to also bring to the table their expertise. In terms of the funding, we need to start learning how to blend and braid what we have. There are ways to use money from this pocket to put into that pocket that are legal and that are appropriate, and the pockets that drain instantly, we need to maybe budget a little more carefully, but we also need to look around and say, okay, what areas in this budget are still full of money, and how can we shift those to meet the needs of the school or the pocket that doesn't have the money that it needs.
All right, Mr. Richardson, same question. If the state or federal government reduces funding due to rising property values simply because Nelson County has become a wealthier community, what will you do to protect or increase the school funding, and how will you handle any reductions in funding?
Well, probably everyone in this room knows that that's already been happening with the state. The state has reduced their funding by approximately 16% over the past score of years, ever since the Great Recession. But what would I do? Okay, what would I do would be to do the absolute best possible with what is available. Work closely with the county commissioners or the supervisors as we continue to make sure that all the needs of the school system are met, while continuing, which I will anyway, to advocate that the state change their unfair metric that is currently punishing rural areas like Nelson County in order to change the indices of their funding formula to more accurately reflect our current value and our ability to actually pay, instead of diverting the funds to other areas in the state.
I'll go ahead and repeat the question for you, Ms. Tracy. If the state or federal government reduces funding due to rising property values, what would you do to protect or increase the school's funding, and how will you handle any reductions in funding?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think every school budget that has been put together by people who care about our students has been trying to do more with less and the most with less that we can do. And I think, you know, as you're working with fewer funds, I think advocacy is a huge part in helping, you know, our constituents, our county members, our board of supervisors to understand why we need the funds that we need and what we're doing with them. And so I think a big part of that role in the school board is explaining what that money is going to and how we're using it and how it benefits, you know, our children here in Nelson County.
All right, finishing up with you, Mr. Kennedy. If the state or federal government reduces funding due to rising property values, what will you do to protect or increase the school's funding, and how will you handle any reductions in funding?
Sure. What I see as something that I can personally do is to try to inspire hope and trust in the public school system in Nelson County. I know I caught a little bit of heat in the local homeschool young family community when I told them that I was enrolling my kids in Nelson County schools, and a number of different angles from the hippie left to the conservative right gave me a bunch of reasons why that was the wrong decision. My kids did well. They're still good friends. to the friends that they had before. And just this fall, another family of a guy that I work with enrolled his kids that had been homeschooled in Albemarle County schools for a lot of the same reasons that we did, where we needed somebody that was a reading specialist to do a good job for our children and to help bring them up to par where they weren't. And that's something that, you know, we had to trust that it was going to be the right thing, and I want to help others believe that. And I think that a lot of the issues with funding that can be overcome with inspiring a few dozen more families to put their trust and enroll their students.
All right, we're going to finish up with one last question. I'm going to start down here with Ms. Rush. What would you want to see changed in our school system?
What would I want to see changed? I think we have educators that work really hard in Nelson County. I think they need to be supported, and I think they need to be challenged to grow their knowledge and their skills so that they're more likely to be able to meet the needs of all these diverse learners that we've been talking about. They need to be respected, and they need to understand that they need to believe that they are in a school that is safe and that is welcoming, and that they feel where they feel they belong, not just the students, but them as well. We have the tools and we have the resources available to grow our teachers' knowledge and skills. You know, we've talked about a lot of great ideas. What I haven't had a chance to say is that those resources are out there. My experience over the past 45 plus years has been in developing the resources, determining what resources are needed for which group of students, and doing the research on what works and what doesn't work. We know what works. And what we don't know is how to get our hands on it. Our teachers are too busy teaching every day to stop and learn how to teach differently, how to teach a classroom of 28 kids, a third of which learn one way, a third of which learn another way, and a third of which aren't going to learn much of anything until we have their behaviors in check. So I think training our teachers, moving into these tiered systems of support for both instruction and behavior is critical, and I'm confident that Nelson County can grow from a county that's great to a county that is really great, that other counties are looking to find out how we do it.
Mr. Richardson, coming back to you. What would you like to see changed in our school system?
In particular, I would like to see more of our teachers and our employees be full-time residents in the county. And I understand the difficulty of this. So this becomes a real community problem. One that's not outside of our reach, but one that will take a lot of additional effort in order to make happen. And that means that there's no such thing as a simple problem, and there's no such thing as a simple solution. I'm talking about making available more affordable housing, and also, you know, getting teachers to become full-time residents here, you know, such that we see them in the pews at church. If we stop at the food line, we see them in there. They become a richer part of our community. They help uplift our community, and they are great assets, you know, to our overall community. Now, not going to get them all, but, you know, I think it's important that we try to make our teachers as best possible members of our community and be part of our whole growth and as part of our whole culture here. Thank you.
Ms. Tracy, what would you like to see changed in our public school system?
I would love to see every resident of Nelson County, whether they have children or grandchildren in our schools, be proud of our schools and know the impact that our schools have on our community, on all of us, on our businesses, on our future, and that they matter to all of us. And that I think our tax dollars, every bit of the work that goes into our Nelson County schools matters to everyone who lives here.
Finishing up with you, Mr. Kennedy, what would you like to see changed in our public school system?
Just to kind of push the needle a little bit, I think there should be less candy. I try to restrict heavily the amount of candy that I allow myself and my children to consume, and sometimes that standard is different. And I think that understanding that issue is actually kind of like for some people, that's what keeps them away from public school. And not that that's the only thing on the docket, but that's just one thing that I would like personally from me and my family. Also, I think that there's a lot of people that don't like Halloween, and it's something that is normalized, and that there's time that's spent on scary coloring pages and Santa Clauses and Easter bunnies that could be spent learning other things that are more formative. And that's a controversial opinion, but figured I'd stir the pot.
Dr. Hatchie?
So when I decided to run for school board, I started asking both parents, teachers, grandparents, folks who volunteer at the schools. And universally, everyone thinks that the Nelson County schools are great, that they're doing the right thing, they're on the right path, but the one thing that folks keep on mentioning is help in the classroom. That the student density and mix sometimes is not ideal for one teacher to handle, even one teacher and one aide, depending on who's in the classroom. If you hire folks to do that, then that takes money. And that means we have to go back to the Board of Supervisors and, like Charles Dickens, ask, could we have more, please? The other option is to increase volunteerism in the schools. That's going to depend on whether volunteers are actually willing to come into the schools and help. But increasing the amount of assistance that teachers have in the classrooms, particularly with a diverse population, I think is probably the one message that I continuously hear when I ask folks, how do you like the Nelson County school system?
Well, thank you to all the candidates. Yeah, please join me in giving them a round of applause. Thank you. Apologies, and so we can start with you, Mr. Richardson. Everyone has 1 minute to make a closing remark.
Okay, well, thank you very much. In terms of closing remarks, I just want to say that education does not begin in the classroom, and it doesn't end there. It lives in the homes, in the parks, and the businesses of our county. And we're stronger together. When we join together and as shared goals and values, our community, we create schools that reflect our values. And this race is not just about one seat. It's about shaping our future, where schools uplift every student and reflect the values of our community. I'm ready to listen, to work, and to believe, and to lead. Because we invest in education, we invest in everyone. So let us rise to the spirit of one Nelson. And my hope is that I've earned your vote, and thank you.
I just want to thank everyone for being here, for listening and participating. It's been wonderful to be up here and with these candidates who I know just care so much about our schools, and that honestly makes me feel great. So I'm thankful for being a part of this.
I'm excited to be up here. I'm grateful for Nelson County Schools and for the blessing it's been to my family over the past year or so. A lot of growth in my kids and a lot of opportunity to really imagine what more could be. And so that's why I'm running. I'm grateful for, hopefully, I don't know how many of you are in the East District, but I hope that you can vote for me and not the other guy. And if you have any more to talk about, I'd love to engage with you. That's what I hope to be doing for the next few years, is talking to people and being a good conduit for communication and for understanding and for trust.
Well, thank you for having us here to introduce ourselves. I think right now the Nelson County school system is stable and sailing smoothly. Unfortunately, I think over the next couple of years, we face a number of challenges with primarily funding across a wide sector of the education system. That's going to take some creative management. And it's going to take skilled administrators to navigate through that quagmire, to make sure that the students get what they need, that our students continue to be fed, that special education remains intact, behavioral health remains intact. So these are all challenges that will not be easy to solve, but I think we can do it in cooperation with the school superintendent and the faculty, as well as the county supervisors.
Thank you again, Melanie and the Chamber, for having us here tonight, and again to all of you for these great questions. I'm ready to put my education and my experience to work for all of the students in Nelson County. I want Nelson County to become the rural county that other rural counties across the country reach out to us and say, how are you beating the odds? How are you beating the unique disadvantages of the rural school system? And what we're going to tell them is, we're doing that because our teachers, when we hire them, it is with the expectation that they will retire with us, because they will be in a supportive, collaborative, challenging environment where they're respected and where their knowledge and their skills are grown. They will be in an environment where the students come into their school every day feeling safe, feeling welcome, and feeling like they belong. And their students will also feel, as will the teachers, that their challenges and their strengths will be celebrated. Thank you.
All right. If everyone could please join me again and thank you, Ms. Kennedy. All right. Thank you, candidates, for being here this evening. I look forward to speaking with all of you and asking questions. First, we're going to get started down here on my left. This is Harvey, and we're going to work down the line. And I don't know how many questions we're going to get through tonight because there are 6, one more than the school board candidates, but we're going to do the best we can. We're going to get anywhere from 4 to 6 questions answered tonight, but let's start with a 2-minute introduction. Please identify yourself, which district you're running for, and your opening remarks. So Ms. Harvey, 2 minutes.
Thank you all for having us, all of us out here tonight. But still not?
There you go, perfect.
Am I good now?
Yes.
I'll be here all night doing this. My name is Diane Harvey. I am running for the North District Supervisor. Okay, everybody, I got me back here. Got it now? I have been a native, long resident of Nelson County all my life through schools. I have a business in the North Ashland area, and I'm really looking forward to working hard for the people and for their needs and concerns. Thank you.
Mr. Lanahan, 2 minutes.
All right, thank you. Good evening, my name is Cameron Lanahan. I'm running for North District Supervisor. I was born and raised in Afton, and today my wife and I are proud to say that we're raising our family here. This community is not just where I live. It's my past, my present, and my family's future. I graduated from Nelson County High School and I've served with the Rockridge Fire Department since I was a teenager. At 22, I started my own towing and recovery business, growing it from one truck into a company that supports families across multiple counties. That real-world experience taught me responsibility, accountability, and physical discipline skills. Skills I will bring to the county leadership. Nelson County faces big challenges: traffic on 151, rising taxes, and wasteful spending. And outside development pressure that threatens our rural character. My priorities are clear: keep Afton rural and beautiful, support local law enforcement and community safety, empower local businesses, and grow smarter, not faster. This seat is an open opportunity for fresh leadership rooted in hard work, community service, and common sense. Together, we can keep Nelson County rural, beautiful, and strong. Thank you.
Next up, Mr. White.
Asking a retired Methodist preacher to just say 2 minutes is a real challenge. But I'll try. My home is in Nelson County. We've raised children and grandchildren here, and this is the place that our heart came to when we bought the property. And we want to stay here until we can't stay anymore. I bring a wealth of experience and ability from almost 40 years as a United Methodist pastor. I'm retired. But during that time, I had to work with a lot of different kinds of people and different groups and make things work. I worked on budgets with finance committees. I worked on building projects and capital improvements, some over $1 million. So I have that experience. But the big motivation for me to become your supervisor is a sense of caring and compassion and a desire to serve you using my abilities. And in Nelson County, it's in my DNA. So I will use the talents and abilities I have and represent you in some difficult years ahead, but always looking to serving what is in our best interest.
Mr. Rutherford, 2 minutes.
I'm going to try out this mic. Good evening. Yeah, I knew there were some Baptists in the room. Well, I must admit, brevity is also not a talent of Rutherford, so we'll see who's more brief, the retired Methodists or Rutherford. But first and foremost, I want to thank each and every single one of you for being here today, participating in something that's very critical to the very fabric of our being in this community and how we govern ourselves and what the future is to come. We up here are not necessarily the arbiters of the destiny of Nelson County, but you are. But before I get too far, I should probably tell you who I am. My name is Jesse Rutherford, and I have had the great honor and privilege of representing the East District, which circumvents Livingston, Schuyler, and a lot of beautiful places in between. I was born and raised in Elma. For those of you who are from here know where that is, and it used to have a zip code. And I plan to die there. I'm happy to say my wife and I got married. We built a dream home, and that is a place where I hope to end my life there. Not in that way, but in a happy way. But I want to just say this. My experience on the board has been many different honors and privileges, and certainly there have been a lot of twists and turns that we've had to address. And I would look to you and say that in the midst of all those trials and all of those successful moments, I have always kept an open phone to each and every single one of you. I look forward to continuing on that. I look forward to continuing to revitalize the towns of Livingston and Schuyler, and I look forward to trying to figure out how we can make sure that families in Nelson County have the opportunity to live, work, and raise their families here.
Mr. Bain, 2 minutes as well.
Hello, I'm Steve Bain, candidate for Board of Supervisors, Central District. I'm a native, lifelong resident of Virginia and a graduate of the University of Virginia. My wife for more than 40 years is Maureen. Maureen and I are blessed to have 3 daughters, 3 sons-in-law, and 5 grandchildren. As a chief financial officer for growing small businesses, I help companies turn around and build operationally and financially strong businesses. I also served as a mentor, passing on what I have learned. Maureen and I retired to Nellis Ford in 2018. We love our home in Nelson County. For the past several years, I've been actively engaged in many critical issues and initiatives for Nelson County and have attended every important public meeting. Some examples are the comprehensive plan, the ordinance update, the annual budgets. This has provided me with a deep understanding of the opportunities as well as the challenges for Nelson County and the Central District. While I never intended to run for office, I've learned that the only way to make a real difference is to have a seat on the board. These are the issues that have driven me to run for the board. Managing and guiding growth and development for Nelson County, protecting Route 151 corridor from overdevelopment and securing routes 151 and 6 as safe highways, demanding effective financial management, fiscal diligence, and discipline in the responsible use of our constituents' taxes to deliver county services, using business planning rooted in common sense to solve the challenges and deliver the opportunities, maintaining an open dialogue with people in the Central District, keeping you up to date. Nelson County is a beautiful place known for its rural character and is at a key point in its growth and development. We must focus on the opportunities and challenges and begin actively planning with a long-term view. As a chief financial officer who is retired, I am committed to full-time for Nelson County to deliver on the opportunities and to solve these challenges. Thank you.
Lastly, Mr. Reed, 2 minutes.
Thank you. For the last 8 years, it's been my honor to serve on the Board of Supervisors next to Jesse. He and I are the elder statesmen now on the Board of Supervisors. So that being the case, I want to thank you all for the support that you've given us while we've been doing this, because the Nelson County community has been extremely supportive, extremely vocal, and extremely open, not just with me, but with all the supervisors in terms of things we're doing. I think that I've earned the trust of the rest of the supervisors. I'm very proud of everything that I've had a part in and a leadership role in, and I'm happy to be able to do it again. I'm so grateful for the opportunity that y'all have given me for 8 years, and I'm really looking forward to the next 4, because most things get started and some things get finished, and I want to see some more things get finished. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to go to the question segment of the program, and each person will have 2 minutes to answer these questions. You will be notified when time is running down at the 1 minute and 30-second mark. And let's start down here with Ms. Harvey.
Oh, I'm first again? Okay, let me work this one.
This battery may be going. It's the one running battery.
You might want to
Hello?
share the mic down here when the time comes, because that one's fading out. So this is a question for all candidates. From an economic development perspective, what is your vision to attract business or industry into Nelson County that would provide jobs to our citizens? Ms. Harvey, 2 minutes.
I think that what we would have to do with being jobs to come to Nelson, we know that the housing issue is an issue. We'd have to develop ways for them to be able to have housing to come, give them some, excuse me, I'm getting my thoughts here. Attraction with economical issues and stuff, and I think the housing and all that is what.
Okay. Mr. Lanahan, same question from an economic development perspective. What is your vision to attract business or industry into Nelson County that will provide jobs to our citizens?
Sure. Well, the first thing I think is to create an opportunity zone along the 29 corridor. You also need to offer some incentives for these businesses to come here, whether it be a tax incentive, whether it be free water hookup, free sewer hookup, because we have shedded away some good paying jobs in the past. One of the most recent one was the Frito-Lay company. Those are good paying jobs for Nelson County. If we create an opportunity zone on 29, I think they will come. Kind of like you build it and they will come.
Mr. White, same question. From an economic development perspective, what is your vision to attract business or industry into Nelson County that would provide jobs to our citizens?
Well, first I'll speak directly to the North District that I would represent. And the one thing we have to protect in the North District is the natural environment, the beauty. That's what most people come to see when they come to Nelson County. And yet there's a possibility with responsible development, small businesses could be established that would complement our environment and provide jobs. So I think that's a possibility, but we just have to be very careful. Tourist traffic is very extensive right now. And the tourist income that the county, it's if not the major, it's a major source of income for Nelson County. So that's a reality. Housing, when I've talked to people campaigning out in the district, housing is a big deal. It's not available. Rentals or even the affordability of a home for a first-time buyer, a new family that wants to buy a home and raise their family here, right now, it's pretty much impossible because of the elevated prices and the lack of houses being available. So business, housing, environment, we have to balance those things so we don't lose the beauty that we cherish. And yet seek opportunities to provide some jobs and some housing so people can live here.
Mr. Rutherford, same questions. From an economic development perspective, what is your vision to attract business or industry into Nelson County that will provide jobs to the citizens?
Absolutely, and so as it relates to this question, and I'm enjoying hearing the repetitiveness of housing, because housing is not just an incremental place for people to start their lives, it's also this place where people can set roots. What is required of that is these jobs, right? So when it comes to economic development, I would look at you and say, this is not necessarily a chicken or the egg of, do you have to have the jobs before you get the housing, or do you have to have the housing before you get the jobs? The reality is you need a pregnant chicken. You need both at the same time, okay? If you haven't heard that analogy, now you can say you've heard it. But I just want to say that not just only that, my focus on jobs is for the local Nelsonian who grew up in Tyro, Gladstone, Schuyler, Regina, wherever that may be. Those are the people who I'm really rooting for, especially the children. They're the ones I want to see get the job. What does that mean? That means career and technical education is a huge piece of this. I know I was listening to the school board discussion, and I want to remind everyone, CT is career and technical education. It is the brick and mortar. It's your farm. It is your plumber. It's your electrician. It's your mason. Okay. For every 3 plumbers that retire today, there's only one replacing those 3 jobs. What does that mean? We need career and technical education in our schools, but not just for ourselves. We need to look at this as a region. This is going to be to the detriment of attracting any jobs here if we do not have that education in place, not just for the kids, but for the residents who live here who want to have a better life for themselves. And I will follow up with that. The individuals who we want to see living in our community, working those workforce jobs. A reminder, the median house sale is $430,000. That's the median, that's the middle. Okay, I want you to look around at your average person who's working in the service industry and what they get paid. They can't afford to live here. I'm proud to be the builder of the 4 houses on 29, and one of those houses is going to be having a Tyree River Elementary School teacher in it. And I'm telling you, there is the way to do this.
All right, Mr. Bain, same question. From an economic development perspective, what is your vision to attract business or industry into Nelson County that will provide jobs to our citizens?
Well, I love this question. I appreciate this being first. This is great. The only downside is having to go after Supervisor Rutherford, which is what it is. First of all, going through this several facets of this, because this is a great topic. In our comprehensive plan from 2 years ago, our 20-year comprehensive plan, the comprehensive plan did a good job. Could always have been better, but it did a good job of really laying out certain aspects of land use and targeted development in the county. I'll hold it a little closer. So the comprehensive plan helped us to identify targeted areas. The ordinance zoning update right now is kind of putting that comprehensive plan into place. The county really needs to, in its economic development activities, needs to really put out a welcome sign with respect to businesses. We absolutely can attract A-quality or quality employers to come into the county and really partner with the county and provide great jobs. From my perspective, I believe we provide the jobs that will attract and help very much with new housing and growth in housing. So jobs first, then housing. It would also be a very good partnering effect between a quality jobs provider coming into the county and partnering with the county with respect to water infrastructure areas, water infrastructure needs in certain areas of the county. So this really could be a twofer or a threefer as it goes through. No downside, only upside. It definitely can be done while preserving the rural character, and the county really needs to put out a welcome sign like our neighbors in Amherst are kind of doing right now.
Mr. Reed, same question. From an economic development perspective, what is your vision to attract business or industry into Nelson County that would provide jobs to our citizens?
Well, as you know, an economy has to be built on a foundation. And right now, the water infrastructure that we have in Nelson County, as it exists right now, both puts a damper on development, it limits development in areas where we don't have it, and where we do have it, we don't have enough to support either housing or development at this point. So my work with both on the Board of Supervisors and with the Nelson County Service Authority is to actively look to increase the infrastructure in the 29 corridor. We're looking for additional water sources, and we have engineering studies that are going on right now that hopefully are going to identify those. And the Livingston sewer system is going to be upgraded and expanded. So those are things that are already working. They haven't happened yet. They're a work in progress. They've started, they haven't finished yet. Once you have the infrastructure, you have to have the things that go on top. And in terms of economy, the biggest economy in this county is our schools. Our schools employ more people than anybody else in the county. And every dollar that you spend on schools not just takes care of the kids, it takes care of the economy, it takes care of the teachers, it takes care of the service people, the support staff, the bus drivers, everybody that provides for the schools and for the community and for the sports and for everything that the schools do. Beyond that, we're also working with the Economic Development Authority, local government, and local nonprofits to be able to get an influx of money, because as we know, development's not going to happen unless you have the financial resources. The EDA has an opportunity to be able to apply for funds that the city, that the county cannot, and nonprofits also have access to money that we don't have. The three of those working together, along with local businesses, give us a real opportunity to build additional stuff on that. Thank you.
All right, next question, we're going to start with Mr. Lanahan, and I've heard most candidates talk about affordable housing, and this question is a two-part question. How can Nelson County Board of Supervisors help achieve affordable housing for the residents who need it, and what is your position on short-term rentals?
I can go first then. On affordable housing, we do have a problem with affordable housing. The question is, where do we put it? Affordable housing will never work in Afton. Not with land prices at $50,000 an acre. 2 acre minimum, there's $100 grand there. A well and septic, there's another $30,000. It'll never work. We're $150,000 after the permits and the land clearing and the driveway before we dig a footer. Like Rutherford just said, we're $430,000 on average. Go to Ashland, I bet that's a little bit higher than that. Let's put the affordable housing where we have affordable land prices. We have the infrastructure in place on the 29 corridor. Yes, we do need more water, but this is very achievable. We do not need a $40 million water plant. We can go there, we can drill wells along that pipeline, and it's covered. $200,000-300,000 beats the hell out of $40 million. Now, as far as short-term rentals. Short-term rentals, I support it. We have a $2.1 million in tax revenue. However, we need to be changing this. The neighbors need to have some say about where they go. We need to change it from a by right to a special use permit, is where short-term rentals need to be at. We need a place here in Nelson where we can raise a family and not rent Nelson by the night. Thank you.
Mr. White, same question, same two-part question. How can Nelson County Board of Supervisors help achieve affordable housing for the residents who need it? And what is your position on short-term rentals?
Housing is crucial, but the board can't do it by themselves. It's going to have to be a partnership. I'm not sure if it was Jesse or someone. We're going to have to work with nonprofits and other groups to facilitate making property available for housing that a person with $50,000 or less income can find a place to live. Now, one of the ways that this might begin to work out, and it will also affect short-term rentals, is the market. Right now, the market on short-term rentals, and I've gotten this from people who have them in the county, it's going down. At the point that people who own short-term rentals are not making any money, then some of them will go away and we may have some housing available. Now, I don't know when that's going to happen, but looking at the market trend, that could be in the future. One of the problems, in addition, is if a tourist comes to Nelson County to visit the winery, the breweries, to enjoy the hiking and the beauty of the place, there are no motels or hotels that they can stay in. There are only short-term rentals. So if we want to banish or try to completely eliminate short-term rentals, we're going to lose a significant business. It's always a balancing game. I think things can be enforced to make short-term rentals work better. Many people who have them in the county are owners who live on the property and they have an extra house or a cottage, and that is their Airbnb. But we have lots of companies and individuals, even from out of state, who have invested in a short-term rental, and they're not there to police it or to see that who is coming in there is good people. So, all of that.
Mr. Rumford, same question. How can Nelson County Board of Supervisors help achieve affordable housing for the residents who need it? And what is your position on short-term rentals?
It's not every day you get a question that's also your occupation in a regard, so I'm really grateful that this is a two-pronged one for me. And first I want to address, the history of affordable housing in Nelson County. For those who may or may not remember my parents when they had Nelson Homes in Arrington, they were selling double wides and single wides to working class families your everyday American here in Nelson County. And as we've watched over the last 20 years, regulations, local governments stepping in, banning certain subdivisions, banning certain products in our community, now we're looking at this world, once again, of houses costing $430,000 as a median. I'm going to mention a few different tools that the Board of Supervisors has to address this. One of those tools is the zoning update. Whether you know it or not, 90% of Nelson County is zoned agriculture. Manufactured housing is allowed in that. However, R1 and R2 manufactured housing is not. What does that mean? There's a lot of people who immediately got not allowed to purchase a product that is obtainable by countless individuals in Nelson County. You just said the $50,000 person. Okay, well, you can buy a single wide today, which is nothing like your grandmama's trailer in the 1970s. That is energy efficient, that's affordable, that is, costs a grand total of $90,000 with all private money. So, things we're going to address: setbacks. What do those mean? Lot size minimums. We're going to address infrastructure needs, the zoning updates, and making sure that we're not limiting ourselves in terms of product that's allowable in that zoning area. So, every single one of those pieces adds to cost per house. And furthermore, we have to keep up with the depreciation of housing stock in Nelson County. And real quick, on short-term rentals, because I know I don't have a lot of time, this equals $70 million of gross revenue, not to the county, but overall to residents in our community. This is a big, big deal. I want to see locals making that money, and I want to see out-of-state corporations and out-of-town corporations not making that money. I want to see locals making that money and changing their lives and changing their lifestyles.
Mr. Bain, same question. How can Nelson County Board of Supervisors help achieve affordable housing for the residents who need it, and what is your position on short-term rental?
I think that's a great idea. There clearly is insufficient supply of housing in Nelson County. There are actually multiple facets to this issue, and I just want to run through them real quickly. The first one actually is short-term housing, short-term rentals. While short-term rentals provide a source of income to the owner and support tourism in the county, they do reduce the amount of housing available for long-term residents, and that growth must be managed. As part of the ordinance update, we should differentiate, and I believe this is being considered right now, we should differentiate between short-term rentals owned by county residents and property owned by entities from outside the county, putting Nelson County first with preferential terms. I think that's really important. Next is a significant amount of the county's housing stock is older than 30 years. We should use incentives such as tax relief for seniors to encourage residents to reinvest in their homes. Housing that is old, some of it may not even be usable right now, we invest in that and bring that into the active stock. There's an increasing need for senior housing. I don't know if we're going to discuss that separately. We can talk about that later, but that includes aging in place as well as independent living. And then finally, we just talked about economic development. I want to come back to that for housing, because with an increase in jobs will come an increase in affordable workforce housing. Housing that is of certain income levels that really is for that starter home, that new home buyer, that individual that Mr. Rutherford was just talking about, that makes it more affordable to them. I've heard a comment real quick: live, work, raise family in Nelson County. I think this is really important. Live, work, raise family in Nelson County. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Reed, same question. How can Nelson County Board of Supervisors help achieve affordable housing for the residents who need it, and what is your position on short-term rentals?
As we know, since I follow Jesse, I will just say what he said. But in addition, because we work together on the Regional Housing Authority and have been working on this back and forth. We've been part of the stakeholder groups and everything since we started working on this 4 years ago. That being said, the county has one tool that is, I think, fairly unique here, that is an opportunity that we have for housing that has not readily been acknowledged. And that is that the county actually owns property, and the EDA owns property in the county that could be leveraged into housing without the cost to the homeowner of having to pay the cost of the land. And that happens through land trusts or land banks. They exist in Southwest Virginia, rural areas. They exist in our counties to the north, and they can be very, very important in terms of lowering the cost of housing. Again, working with the EDA and nonprofits to do that gives us an opportunity to do things here now that other communities do not have. Short-term rentals, yes, they have to be regulated. Yes, they have to be limited. Winter Green is in my district, Winter Green and Stony Creek. I think 3 out of every 4 short-term rentals in the county is in my district. And the ones that are under Winter Green already regulate short-term rentals themselves. And my belief is that they should be left to do that. They have a special zoning designation that could possibly allow them to do that. And I'm done.
All right, we're on to our third question. Oh, sorry, my apologies, my apologies.
All right, they have set it up.
I do not want to overlook you,
They have,
please.
that's okay, they have top to top, they're all good.
You sure you don't want your 2 minutes? Yeah, you have 2 minutes if you want to comment further.
I think really to be truthful, I think everyone up here has really hit it all. I think though that we do have to, on the short Airbnbs, we do have to have some kind of restrictions on that moving forward with revenue and all that. So, excuse me.
All right, thank you, sorry.
That's okay.
Third question, and this we're going to be starting with you, Mr. White. What are your thoughts or concerns about the current status with the Nelson County Department of Social Services, and how will that change impact Nelson County families?
What a great question. Well, I'm running for supervisor. I'm not on the board, so I'm not privileged to the information reports that have been made. All I know is what most of you know, that we read in the newspapers or seen on the TV news. The last report I saw in the paper commended the improvements that have been made in the past few weeks since the board was dismissed. So I hope that continues. What I will say is it's vital that we have a Department of Social Services that does its job, that protects adults and children, that is willing to go to bat if there's a report of abuse or harm, that is aware of those young families who need some kind of help with parenting, or they're struggling to make ends meet. Their income means that they're spending more than 30% of their income on a house rent or to live. So it's vital that we have a Department of Social Services that take care of the people in our county in a good way. And I hope the improvements continue, and I'm continuing to follow the newspaper's accounts and be interested if anything comes up at the Board of Supervisors meeting tomorrow that we can hear more about.
All right, Mr. Rutherford, repeat the question. What are your thoughts or concerns about the current status with the Nelson County Department of Social Services, and how will any change impact Nelson County families?
Sure. For those who don't know, I do have strong opinions on this one. Related to this DSS situation where we were getting multiple inquiries from multiple different agencies, ranging from the child advocacy entity. Their job is to take in children who may have been abused, going through some forensic investigation to understand what that level of neglect is, getting a lot of terrible reports from them about the state of the DSS, to UVA, pediatricians and forensic individuals who get to see these children in the hospital, all the way to the ombudsman at the state level, all the way to the regional overarching entity above the DSS, our DSS. The reports were so harrowing that if we didn't do something, we, as a Board of Supervisors, would find ourselves in great neglect of the people of Nelson County. I want to make that very clear. There were children that are in danger who are being released back to these individuals, and all the details I have no idea, just knowing concept. Going back to individuals where they were being directly abused, okay? And reports were not being followed up. And there were kids, children, being put in this situation. My only regret is that we didn't do it months ago.
Mr. Bain, same question. What are your thoughts or concerns about the current status with the Nelson County Department of Social Services, and will that have an impact on Nelson County families?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I also was not in the closed session and not privy to the details other than what's been released, separately. So I can only speak to what I have, what I've seen, what I've heard, what I understand. As an operating, executive of a company for many years myself, I can appreciate and actually commend the board majority for taking a call to action and really for making decisive judgment. This was the board majority deciding this to really bring DSS under the county government controls. I really believe that was the right thing to do. Certainly there's more information to come from that, but nonetheless, they took the decisive action because they wanted to make sure there were not lives at risk. So they did that, number one. Number two, there is an independent report that will be coming, will give us much more information, ombudsman or an independent report. I hope that report is very, very complete, very comprehensive, and very prompt. Number three, I hope, maybe beginning with the board meeting tomorrow, I hope that there's very good regular reporting available to the public regarding the reorganization that occurred, bringing DSS leadership into the county government like that, as far as reporting and how things are turning around. So I think it was the right thing to do. I think it was the right decision to make. I don't really think there was another decision to be made. I think it's the right thing, and we look forward to seeing continued progress. And I think we'll be able to get that with the way it's been reorganized. And then ultimately, it'll go back to a stable, into a different situation. But right now, it needs to be stable.
Mr. Reed, same question for you. What are your thoughts or concerns about the current status of the Nelson County Department of Social Services, and how will that impact Nelson County families?
Well, it's very clear to me that the state of DSS now and the relationship with the county is better, it's stronger.
Can you try that other mic? That one seems to be cutting out.
No question that the DSS is in better shape and the community is in better shape and the relationship between all the agencies is in much better shape than it was during the worst of things that we've had to deal with. And, some of the problems that happened were internal. Some of them had to do with the different missions of the different agencies involved. I think that it's something that the DSS does not need to wear 100% of the problems that were leveled upon it. But there's no question that the solution of having our county administrator take a leadership role in DSS was absolutely the best thing to do and the right thing to do. And reestablishing the confidence and the channels between Commonwealth Attorney, deputies, Child Protective Services under DSS is absolutely critical, and we've done that, and I do believe it was the right thing to do.
back around to the other end of the table,
I'll go to
Ms.
the table, see
Harvey.
if you can get his mic working. Mic will.
All right, will you repeat the question? What are your thoughts or concerns about the current status with the Nelson County Department of Social Services, and how will that impact Nelson County families?
I agree with the members of the last DSS board that asked for an independent investigation of what all went there. And I think that people really need to wait to see what that investigation comes out and really says, because I said as the saying is, it's always two sides to every story. I think it'll be surprising when it comes out at that time.
Mr. Lanahan, what are your thoughts or concerns about the current status of the Nelson County Department of Social Services, and how will that impact Nelson County families?
Well, I do agree with the position of the majority vote of the Board of Supervisors to dissolve the DSS board. We can look forward to see a new board of the DSS, and hopefully they take this job serious. It's just unfathomable to imagine the horror that went through these juveniles' head just to not have a director follow up on it. I really, really, really hope that charges are brought against the director for child neglect and child endangerment. Somebody needs to speak up for these kids. Big time. You've got an 18-month-old kid who tested positive for meth. You've got 2 kids chased with axes and delivered back to their mother. You got a 6-week-old baby that was dead. Someone needs to take charge here. That's about all I got to say. Let's do a good job.
All right, Mr. Rutherford, we have a new question. What do you see as the strength and weaknesses of Nelson County Public Schools, and how would you use your position on the Board of Supervisors to make the schools better?
Sure. I think it's battery. That's battery.
Right, so the strength of our schools right now is undoubtedly the dedication of countless teachers, and even more, just as important as that, is the support staff, okay? The unsung heroes of our school system, of course, are, no doubt, teachers deserve more praise, but are the cafeteria workers, they're the bus drivers, they're the janitors. They are all these individuals who are the ones who make sure that the day-to-day operations go smoothly, safely, to ensure that there is some quality life for the education of these kids, okay? The strength is in those individuals who are doing that day in and day out. As it relates to what I see into the future, I'm going to have to agree with some members in the school board and say that, there is some capacity in the future to add some kids to our school system. We need kids in our school system, and that is probably our biggest weakness right now. We are sitting, in the last 20 years, have lost hundreds of students. And by virtue of that, has cost our taxpayers here in Nelson County millions of dollars because of a flawed state system that has to talk about SOQ, standards of quality education, when the governor all of a sudden promises all this money, and then in turn pull $2 million away from our school system. Nelson County is being unjustly thrown into this algorithm and losing every day. Okay? I would look at you and say that the biggest weakness is being in a system that we didn't design ourselves. And it's not one that we can't do much of other than advocate to try to get out of that system. I promise you this, I will continue to work for that, for the workers in our school system, who are those support staff, for the teachers, and then always, I want to affirm this, that I do believe in the fiscal responsibility on all facets of government every chance we can, and making sure that every dollar is spent. We can sit here and look you in the eye and explain why that dollar was spent. Thank you.
Mr. Bain, same question. What do you see as the strength and weaknesses of Nelson County Public Schools, and how would you use your position to make the schools better?
So, we all believe in, having the quality school system that we have and continuing to make it better. We must have a strong partnership between the Board of Supervisors and the school board. Having sat through the earlier session with school board candidates, I was very encouraged by the candidates and very pleased about what that looks like going forward. But there needs to be a strong partnership between the Board of Supervisors and the school board. Such a partnership will make every aspect of the county's education offering stronger. There must be consistent year-round communication and coordination between the two boards. Right now, I think that communication is not formalized. It's haphazard. It's at various times in the year. A lot of times it doesn't begin in earnest until the budget season begins in March. That needs to be year-round, and it needs to be a very good working relationship. Nelson County student enrollment has been consistently declining. The two boards must work together on a long-term plan for addressing this trend. Note that the issue is linked directly to the issue of affordable housing, because if parents go outside the county, for affordable housing, they're going to be having their kids enroll in that county for their education system. We want them to stay in Nelson County, live, work, raise families in Nelson County. And finally, there must be good diligence on the part of the Board of Supervisors. We really, any rubber stamping of any departmental budgets doesn't do anybody any good. In fact, it does them a disservice. There needs to be a clear understanding of exactly what the justification is for every aspect of that, and the two boards need to partner to make sure that we can have a soft landing with respect to the financing.
All right, Mr. Reed, same question for you. What do you see as the strength and weaknesses of Nelson County Public Schools, and how would you use your position on the board to make the schools better?
First of all, there is no question that the dedication of the people that work in the schools is the school's greatest assets. Looking at things that I want to flag that serve the community in really exceptional ways, I would have to flag the band, the theater department. They win awards every year for their one-act plays and in the competitions that they have. Future Farmers always does really well in the competitions they go to. They're able to travel to other parts of the country and see how things are done there and do their presentations for them. These things that are in addition to the SOQs that students get to put their energies in, that is extremely positive and creative, is a real strength that we have in the schools. And finally, I want to say that one of the greatest assets that we have is the students themselves. The students, in fact, this year started a philanthropic club, which actually has a small endowment that they use to give donations to community groups in the county. And the fact that the school is advocating for good things happening in the county and recognizing the different organizations and groups that is a really exceptional relationship that you're not going to find in public schools per se. So there are things that makes Nelson County extremely wonderful and extremely fabulous. The challenges we have are also significant. We've spoken to some of those. I have always been an advocate for the schools. I have always advocated full funding because I know that we never have a full staff in the school as much as we need it. We wouldn't accept, anything less than full staffing from any other service in the county, and I really don't really accept it in the schools, and I would certainly like to find that kind of parity across the board. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Reed. Ms. Harvey, same question. What do you see as the strengths and weaknesses of Nelson County Public Schools, and how would you use your position on the board to make schools better?
I think what everybody has said here today, tonight, also even the school board. If you look at the enrollment and stuff has gone down quite a bit through the schools, we have to figure out a way to attract and build that back up. A lot of homeschooling, which is not anything wrong with that, but to get the fundings and stuff, we have to figure out a way to make it more attractive for our children to want to come to the schools, a lot more probably activities that will be going on at the high school level stuff for people to be able to stay and come. And also some of that is also coming with jobs and housing, and which all of us have talked about that tonight. That would be something that we certainly all of us have the same opinion to work on.
Mr. Lenahan, same question. What do you see as the strength and weaknesses of Nelson County Public Schools, and how would you use your position on the board to make the schools better?
Well,
I think I was getting
well, a lot of it's already been said. About housing, you need more enrollment, and it takes housing to get there. You know, I've only got pretty much three things to say here is, the state has cut back on funding year after year. The student population is decreasing year over year. Like Harvey said, homeschooling's probably one of them. But I will always support school funding to ensure a high-quality education for our kids. The third part is I will always support to keep Rockfish School in Afton. Here recently, there's been a kind of a development about shutting that school down and merging Tye River and Rockfish together. We will keep Rockfish School. It will not close down, period.
Mr. White, finishing up with you. What do you see as the strength and weaknesses of Nelson County Public Schools, and how would you use your position to make the schools better?
Well, first I'll quickly say 15 years ago I was on a sabbatical and I became a substitute teacher in Nelson County schools, which meant on any given morning the phone would ring around 6 o'clock and I would be asked, can you go to this school today or can you go? And I loved it. And I remember how I acted when a substitute teacher came. Oh boy, we got a substitute. I was on to it. I like working with young people and children, and what impressed me 15 years ago was the relationship between teachers and students. It was much more than just simply, I'm telling you something to do. The relationship of caring between the teacher and the student, the creativity I saw in the classroom, it was phenomenal. This year I attended the open house at Rockfish Elementary School. It was wonderful. Teachers had their classrooms all set up, ready for the new students. You could have eaten off the floor. It was so clean. These are all positive things that I think we ought to celebrate. And also remember that even if we don't have children in the schools, we are invested in the county's children. They are our children. We want them to become good citizens. We want them to know how to get along. We want them to understand that they have to work together. You have to share. All this is a part of public school education as well as the instruction. So I want our board to support the schools as much as we can, and even go farther if the funding looks like it's jeopardized from the state.
Central District in focusing on that agenda. As I am going door to door during the campaign, Central District residents are communicating loud and clear what is most important to our constituents. Managing growth and development, road safety, effective financial management, fiscal diligence, discipline, increasing housing supply, offering quality education, planning for opportunities and challenges with a long-term view, maintaining an open dialogue with constituents, ensuring that their voices are heard. The candidates likely agree on the issues for Nelson County for the most part. However, the candidates likely have very different beliefs on how to address those issues. As a former chief financial officer, I have the experience to help Nelson County deliver on its opportunities and solve its challenges. As I'm retired, I'm committed to working full-time on the county's opportunities and challenges. Thank you.
Mr. Reed, 1 minute.
No supervisor accomplishes anything by themselves. They do it as part of a team. But I'm going to list a bunch of accomplishments that have happened while I've served on the board, on the Board of Supervisors, and many of them were initiated by me, and many of them got their early energy from me. As soon as Jesse and I got on, we got a new county website. We were able to get a YouTube channel and stream all of our Board of Supervisors meetings live, and now we're able to get those Board of Supervisors minutes in front of us 1 month after they happen. We hired a new county administrator. We approved a $16 million revenue generator, which is a Wild Rose solar project in the south part of the county. That also has $400,000 worth of high school scholarships attached to it. We've relocated the health department to the Heritage Center. We created 2 ag and forestal districts to limit impetus of growth and development in those areas. A new DSS building is on its way, and we purchased property that we can hopefully develop in such a way that will serve the county. Ms. Harvey? 1 minute.
My goal is to, as I finish up tonight, again, we thank everybody for coming out, and we've learned a lot of things from each other, and that we can pass on too. My goal is to listen to the residents of Nelson County to keep it a great place to live, work, and raise a family. And thank you all for your support by coming out tonight.
Mr. Leonard?
Thank y'all for y'all's time tonight. You know, Nelson County deserves a fresh leadership. My priorities are simple. Keep Afton rural and beautiful, protect property rights, and make smart, practical investments. Safer roads on 151 and support for public safety. On housing, let's be honest, affordable housing will never work in Afton with the high prices. We need to push those to the 29 corridor, where the infrastructure is already in place, so young families can actually get started without breaking the bank. If you want steady hands and straight answers and someone who will fight for your family's future like it's his own, then I'm your supervisor. We've had decades of talk. It's time for someone who actually gets things done. I'm Cameron Linehan, and I'm asking for your vote. Let's keep Afton rural.
Mr. White, 1 minute.
One of the reasons I am running as an independent is I feel that gives me some flexibility to be creative and to sit on the Board of Supervisors and look at issues and problems, not just in the box, but sometimes outside of the box. I had to do that in 40 years of ministry. And the issues that we're facing today, housing, education, tourism, all the things that we've talked about tonight, may require us to be a lot more creative than we have been. I commend the current board in them tackling many of these big problems. But I think I can also contribute my expertise to make sure our county is a place we love to be in, and that other people want to be here with us.
Mr. Rutherford, finishing up with you, 1 minute.
Oh boy, finished up with me. Once again, it has been an honor to be here today, to have been able to serve the place where I've known and loved my entire life. It is an honor to continue to live there and look forward to spending the rest of my life there. I want to mention this, that as it relates to the representation in Nelson County, that all people should be treated equally, okay? It doesn't matter whether you're from Gladstone, Norwood, Nelliesford, Afton, wherever it is, you are a piece of that fabric that we know as Nelson County. As it relates to some important piece right here, I want to make this clear. There's a lot of people who don't come to the board meetings, who don't make it to these rooms, whose voices are not being heard, right? We know that. And it is our job as the electeds to look for those people and support them. Just as one member up here just said, that there's two sides of every story. I want everyone to know this, that there was a lot of children and those who lost their lives who never had the chance to tell the rest of their story. Thank you all. And I end it with this. I give everyone a round of applause who's done this, the moderator, Carlton, the chamber. Thank you all. And Margaret Clay with the back.